this next one, I know you'll have a lot to say because we follow your columns religiously and you always write good stuff. And it seems like you're a voice of us Chicagoans here. So we're happy to have you here to contribute. You know, recently the Silence Breakers took the cover of as Time Magazine's People of the Year, but not everyone was so thrilled about it. A former employee of Charlie Rose, Rebecca Carroll, said this in Esquire magazine: "In this watershed moment of examination and reckoning as one of powerful white men after another is disgraced following allegations of sexual misconduct ranging from harassment to assault, we're still not talking about the ramifications for black women or the broader connection to structural racism in America." So is racism taking a backseat to sexism?
It's a great question. I mean, I think that the harassment topic is one that's about power. And so in this country, white men have abused their power over women and over people of color since the founding of the country. So I think you need to talk about both of them at the same time. I don't think it can be an either or if we're actually going to solve this topic. I think it has to be both.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
a great point.
Yeah.
I also think that non-white women have felt left out of the feminist movement much of the time. And so there's this hashtag #ThemToo that's going around. And if this hashtag can garner as much power and is talked about as much as Me Too, then I think that's a great thing, because we do have to talk about how race and ethnicity plays into the feminist movement.
Absolutely, yeah, and it's hard to deny that this wasn't really a topic until beautiful white actresses started making it a topic that we all cared about. I mean, Harvey Weinstein's not the first guy to sexually harass women, right? It took Gwyneth Paltrow, it took Ashley Judd, it took people who look, the way, a lot of people relate to looking, for people to start paying attention, and that's really
Heidi, and it's funny you mention that, because that's what I thought in reading this article. I was like, it's the same feelings of John Benet Ramsey, which is obviously a very big deal, or Elizabeth Smart, or Casey Anthony's story. Like, these were awful crimes, but they were headlined, they were on every news story. It was the A block, it was the lead, and I was like, do you know how many stories happen like this with people in the black community that aren't getting that coverage because it's not a pretty white face up there? Now, is this an issue? Absolutely. But nobody should be left behind that's of color just because it's happened to a celebrity who's a pretty white blonde person. Like, it needs to be all encompassing, and it also shouldn't be just a fad, a flavor of the month. Let's focus on sexual harassment right now, and then let's back off it once the story dies down. So in a lot of ways, I hear, this story makes complete sense to me, and I can sense that, not even having to be a woman, but how it's covered. But then also there's a concern of mine that this sexual harassment thing is just going to go away when the next awful thing happens and people forget. This is a very big problem that needs to keep the focus on it.
Right. So, I actually don't think that this movement is going to die down.
It shouldn't.
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of people right now are talking about the backlash, the inevitable backlash. And I'm sure that there is one, but I hope we don't focus on that too much or start worrying about that. It feels a little bit like, settle down, ladies, the backlash is coming. And it's like, who's ever been part of any social movement doesn't understand that, like, there's an inevitable backlash. You push through it. You go on anyway. I don't think it's going away. I agree.